I'm David Cameo, and we are Squawking Dead, a podcast pulverizing episodes of the Walking Dead universe. Sometimes we give you news, sometimes we make you laugh, but most times we go deep. Today will probably not make you laugh. It's been hard. Fear the Walking Dead has been a tough watch. I will say, the good kind of hurt. I'll always say it. Fear the Walking Dead has been amazing so far. Thank you guys for joining us in the live chat. Thank you for joining us in the premiere. But yeah, it has been tough, and it's caused some tension between the fandom. And but I will say one thing: it is good to watch. It is great to kind of pick things apart. A lot of feelings are involved, and you know what? The good thing about Fear the Walking Dead in season 6 is that if something is going to make you feel that vociferously about the material that we're watching, you know it's a good show. So I am very happy to bring you this premiere on a Wednesday rather than a Friday mostly, and Thursday last week, and then that crapped out. So thank you for joining us. If you're watching on replay, please enjoy this episode. I have no real housekeeping except for one thing that I mentioned during this episode, which is we cut out a significant, 26 episode called, I don't know what to do about Dakota. It was a very heated discussion. If you want to be a part of the audience, the chat while we're recording, so you can yell all the different ways you want Dakota to die, head over to ko-fi.com/squawkingdead and just follow us. You'll be in the know when we for the next time we set up our recording sessions. You can actually see the posts when we download our unedited episode recording sessions for you to download. And if you want to buy us a coffee, it'll ask you you'll be able to have access to supported back content for 30 days. And if you subscribe to a coffee a month or more, you'll just keep getting that month to month. And another thing, while the episode is airing, and it is a shorter episode because we took out all the other content, if you happen to buy us a coffee during the stream, your message will pop up and be there forever on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Instagram too. And I think that's it, right? No, and Periscope. But Periscope is dying, so I'm not sure what's going on there. Anyway, please enjoy this episode while we're at it, and I'll be seeing you in the chat if you're watching live.
We're dealing with somebody else now.
Daniel's on the other side. It's really good on headphones. Tulino. It's kosher. It's tomato soup. What's in it? Clink. Super Daniel 3? Daniel's face has been through a lot. Oh, now you can actually clearly see Swati in the binoculars. Not in the promo photos. Paige is back? Just kidding. It's Sarah. Foreshadowing? No. Maybe? That question's answered now. But is it nice? Smart. Ooh, looks like it's been a while. Nasty. Including June. Hey, it looks like Daryl on top of Hilltop. What did you do, Danielle? What an intro, right? Just going straight from the bars to the intro screen, right? See, I like Rachel's face because now she can't talk. It's like, ooh, yeah. Smiles. It's a rarity. Smiles. I love Ruben Blade. I wonder who he's talking to, right? It's Charlie. He's talking to Charlie. Get the fuck out of here. This is never going to be submitted to The Walking Dead. Licking his skid mark. Ooh. Akon acknowledging Akon. Ooh. Hey, Charlie. Oh. Ominous lock in the foreground. Welcome to my mind. Ooh. Back to Grid Schoolhouse Road. Just imagine every episode is just one more character dies until we get to the rest of the season. Whoa. Oh boy. Victor speak. Silence the Whisperers, anybody? Woo. A rock accidentally. Ooh. It was Charlie again. Maybe, though. Super Charlie 3? I'm trying not to look at your faces. No offense. What if it's just bad gas? Will Charlie be the next MVP? Oh, more torture? Look at that tree right in the middle, too. Beautiful. Do you think someone let them in? Do you think someone let them in? It rhymes with schmanual. Ooh, a saw. This is like Rachel's favorite part right here, probably, right? Ooh. Oh, no. A walker that looks like Dwight. Did you hear, the late to the party. And the guns came from... Dun dun dun. Where's Bobby? Where's Samuels in all this too? The Theory. Triple dipping. Season 3. Man, I thought this place was safe. Ooh, gross. Sarah's Rachel right now. Oh, that Victor. Rachel always did have resting bitch face, you know what I'm saying? Are you giving my sweet pea the D? Are you? Ooh, no he doesn't. Swatty? Yeah. Oh boy. Repeat of last episode anyway? Like just almost? This much? This close? This reminds me of Spring Break 1999, I think. No? Not just me? Okay. What? It's it's a rager. Well, I almost shot Victor in the face. Past tense. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Was I right about Charlie? I didn't mean it. I had to go to the bathroom. It was a rough one. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. And he hid the guns. Oh, speechless. Heartbreak. This is the beginning of the episode. Right? That's hard to believe, by the way. Maybe that's why. Unless he thinks he needs to be this way. Super duper Daniel 3 kind of thing. Like, literally. What do you guys think of, like, a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles crossover? Maybe? No? Okay. Splinter, played by John Glover. Super Strand 4? Ugh. My heart. Ugh. Yeah, Rachel. And me, a little gizmo. It's another one I have to look up. I said what I said. I know that's from something specific that I'm forgetting right now. Oh god, I'm a snotty mess. This is not fun. Don't let go. Go with it. It's fine. I don't want this to be over. Now I'm thinking, where's Talking Dead? Is Talking Dead on next? God, they're gonna get so much shit. Seriously. We are Squawking Dead, a podcast pulverizing episodes of the Walking Dead universe. Sometimes we give you news, sometimes we make you laugh, but most times we go deep. In today's episode, we're discussing Fear the Walking Dead's 10th episode of Season 6, titled Handle with Cameo. Do we have anything to any housekeeping to do?
In 2 weeks, May 9th, we're having another trivia game. It will cover Fear the Walking Dead Seasons 4 through 6, including the 6B episodes that we've seen. So up to 611.
Right, including next week's, essentially.
Correct.
Yeah, so be there. Subscribe to youtube.com/BlazyGardner and then follow her on social media in order to participate. You're going to have to DM her, see if you can get on board the group that she has going or the list of people that she has that may play. And you'll be playing for real prizes. Now, we've mentioned this before. She will tell you exactly what prizes you may or may not win. I mean, you have to be good. Listen, if you don't know your fear front to back, or you're not willing to study, don't even bother. Yes, I am discouraging you. Yeah, we give you the hard truth at Squawking Dead, because, and I do this for your own good. You'll just be embarrassing yourself, because Sharondy will ask a question that'll make you go, what the fuck? And then you'll be like, what am I even doing here? I'm in the upper echelons of fear. I should just back out now. You can't back out. You gotta last the whole episode. It's not like they can kick you off the stream. You're there for the entire hour, knowing nothing. So study up.
It's always a good time, and even if you don't know the answer, you know, you have the opportunity to put in something funny and make everybody laugh, and it's just a good time.
It's a way to kick things off. Becky says, I've decided to visit earlier seasons because of Handled with Care, and I think that's a very good place to start, because one of the things I've said about this season on Reddit to other people is that it does a nice job not for the first 3 seasons, incorporating the totality of the characters and creating something new with it, but not also, like, again, still acknowledging seasons 4 through 6 that they did happen and they do have relevance to the season. It's never been more present than this episode. Like you could say, oh yeah, they mentioned something about season 4 through 5. Oh, they mentioned something about season 1, season 3. They dropped some serious things from season 1 through 3 in accordance to character, and I really, really, really enjoyed that. Lest you forget, bigger drops was the psychological problems that Daniel was having leading up to I think episode 7. I think season 2. Basically, when Daniel burns down Celia's mansion. Becky says, people messaged me about their confusion with this episode because they only started watching season 4. Having said that, I want his eyes to show up. Yeah, you and the rest of everybody. I never got that. I'm going to be honest with you. I get the idea of it. Like, oh, this kid, he seems to know he has to give his knife back, but he needs it to stab walkers in the head, right? But who wants to know the person who knows what's going on in the apocalypse?
I don't know. I mean, he was an interesting character in the first season, and we never saw him die. So I think it would be interesting if he popped back up. I mean, Walking Dead did it with Morales. Why not?
But what happened with Morales?
Yeah, he died right after. But so in this situation, Tobias would survive, right? Because we can't totally copy The Walking Dead.
Oh no!
I mean,
See,
if this kid knew what the fuck was up, like he might be like running some settlement somewhere. Like he's the leader of wherever he's at.
If you did bring him back, he would be like a significant character who's clearly capable, but like they'd have to find a way that he die horribly. Our characters need to be vulnerable enough to feel like they could die, and then they don't. This guy, Tobias, would have to be like, super competent, super capable, knows what he's doing, but then you'd have to find a way that one of the characters fuck him over. That's how he'd have to go. Not every series can have a Daryl.
Strand will stab him in the leg and feed him to the walkers. It's okay.
Exactly. There you go. Problem solved. Or, non-problem. I think that's why I don't want him to show up. That's the thing. I think the fact that he's not there is even more fun to play with. Imagining him doing this or doing that. Oh, Tobias wouldn't have that problem. Like Madison getting blown up in the diamond. Tobias wouldn't have done that. Like that idea. You know what I mean? It's like...
I would just blame everything. Like Tobias wouldn't have done that.
Yeah, exactly.
What would Tobias do?
like Tobias wouldn't have got shot by Dakota.
Right?
We should label every episode. Dave tries to get everybody to hate him.
Tobias would have chopped Jenny's head off.
Tobias would have taken over this podcast. See, Becky says Tobias could show up on the Tale spinoff. Yeah, only if he dies, though. That's my proviso. He has to die heroically at the end, or horribly, or he becomes a terrible person. That's what I want. If he comes back, he has to be a villain. Yes. Speaking. Here's somebody I really wanted to come back, and I really, really wish she would. Alex, who was on the web series Flight 462 and showed up on the show, which was awesome. And then she gets on a rubber dinghy with her friend who's gonna die. And then they put her out to sea. And that's somebody I would definitely want to come back again. She was on Talking Dead, too.
Oh, shit.
That is insane. Back in the day when they actually had Talking Dead for Fear. And it was called Talking Fear. Becky says, I still can't believe they aren't having Talking Dead. After every episode, I'm like, where's Talking Dead? We need a Talking Dead after this. Mm-hmm. This is so super interesting.
Colby needed to be there and have her goodbye moment on Talking Dead.
100%. Just to kind of wrap it up in a bow, because we have mentioned this before, but I don't know if we've mentioned it on air. When Talking Dead started taking a hiatus from Fear, it was around the time where the Chris Hardwick allegations came out. So they took a break from Fear because of cut, and then realized, do we need to recover all of Fear? Okay, well, maybe we'll have a Yvette Nicole Brown special, in the mid-season. It was at least the mid-season finale. And then they brought him back, I think, for the mid-season premiere. And then again, they took off until the season finale. That was for Fear the Walking Dead season 5. And then they just kind of kept that going. However, the reason why it's so confusing is because COVID, sort of, because there was that gap, so we forgot. But even further is because during the first few episodes of Fear the Walking Dead, they did air some Talking Dead at Home episodes for Fear the Walking Dead. And then they stopped after episode 4, I believe. So again, if it's confusing, it's because it's Talking Dead makes no sense. Seriously, I half want to fill in for them when they're shitting the bed like this. And honestly, a reaction video from a creator is not going to cut it. They need us. Yeah, just Mark, Daniel Salazar's kind of had 9 lives though. Shot in the face, almost burnt in a fire. Talk about a foil for Morgan. Who better to take care of this place than Morgan at the moment? Somebody who can't die.
My expectations were pretty low just because of the high we were riding the past 2 weeks. In my mind, I'm going, all right, it can't be up here again. It just can't. Don't go into it expecting this. Go in and expect something really slow and very, very, maybe we're only going to cover a few hours, not push things forward a whole lot, but maybe focus more on one character. I didn't have a lot of expectations is my point here. So watching it, obviously, it was a surprise. There was still a lot of action and mystery and heartbreak. It was a really great episode. I was like this the whole time. oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, what's going on? What's going on?
We said this a little bit last week, but this week they held on Ruben when it was saying I could have got Grayskull, I could have got you killed. Oh man, that like, and his lip was quivering and everything, and you could tell like he's feeling so helpless in this moment, and like didn't want to admit it, but he had to admit it. He's like, I'm embarrassed, you know, and but I have to admit it that I can't, and I can't, and like I don't want to leave you, but I have to leave you, Charlie.
It broke me when Morgan was questioning him, and they were sort of figuring out like that something wasn't right, you know what I mean? And the look on Daniel's face during that scene, that whole scene just really got me. Like,
yeah.
Are you okay, man? You know, are you feeling okay? And just like finally sinks in. Yeah.
Where Sharon D saying that it's confusing. It's confusing.
Yes. Daniel's finally like realizing that what he thought happened isn't what is happening.
The worst part about it is that like that the way he's waited, it's like halfway between I think I know the answer, but like then the other half is like somebody's trying to make me look real bad. Mm-hmm. That's what's like that perfect intonation of like where it's on that line as he's saying is like it's confusing. Like that's. Sometimes something is delivered almost like as if it's real. Mm-hmm. And like you can't fake that, and yet it's acting. Congratulations, Ruben. Here's all the awards. Here, take them all.
This, kind of goes back to the conversation that we had about seeing Sad cry. The strong person just crumble in front of you, and they don't even realize it's happening. Like they're just now realizing that it's happening, and it's sinking in. And not only that, it's sinking in front of an audience. I mean, first it was just Luciana and Dwight, then Wes comes up, then Rachel comes up. All these people come walking up, and are witness to Daniel's embarrassment.
One of the interesting things that happened during our live watch was, and I don't know if this happened with you, but like it happened to me as I was blabbering about. I was suspecting everybody. I suspected, and forgive me, Sharon D, even I suspected Charlie at one point. Like I suspected everybody. I thought of excuses to suspect, like Rachel. I said Rachel. She had resting bitch face all the time. Yeah. The thing is, I'm an equal opportunity suspector. I suspected everybody except for maybe Morgan, but thank God for Gaius's. Or I would have suspected too, because again, he was the only one with the keys to the freaking shack.
I was like live chatting with Sharon D as I was watching the episode, because of course she had already watched it 10 times. So I'm texting her during the episode, right? You know who the first person I suspected was? And she'll tell you. The rabbi. What a shocker, right? What a shock. 2, I'm pretty sure it was Daniel, made a comment about, they set off the explosions to trap us inside. And I thought the only person outside right now is the rabbi and Morgan. And it ain't Morgan. So it must be the rabbi.
right. Or Daniel and Morgan planning it out from the beginning. Yeah, that's right. Again, I didn't really suspect Morgan. Whatever. I didn't have that in my mind because I'm saying it because I'm trying to not be biased. Yeah, I'm cool. I stand Morgan. Sorry in advance. Sometimes it's unavoidable. It just doesn't cross my mind. Okay. That being said, though, but you, just like me, had basically ran through the list of everybody, thinking,
pretty much,
God, it could maybe even, I don't know, maybe be Sarah even. Like, that was like
she
the least, she was the least on my list.
Yeah.
But even then, like, her suspecting Chuckles, again, bringing back that nickname from season 5 of Charlie, even Sarah allowing herself to suspect Charlie got me thinking that, if Sarah suspects it, of all people, being with Charlie, like, in the MRAP and everything, and Convoy and all that, God, then what makes me think that I can't suspect Charlie? Now that we've established we're all assholes, but the show wanted us to be assholes. Totally wanted us to be assholes. And I have to give them a lot of credit, so much credit, because they designed this episode from Daniel Salazar's point of view, which was somebody here has done it, had to have done it. And after hearing the behind the scenes from Ian Goldberg and Andrew Chambliss talking about this episode, how they designed this episode, one of the things that I said about Huck's backstory, remember that whole backstory fiasco that we went through? Huck's backstory is fake about her time in the Marine Corps? Right. Mm-hmm. One of the things I said it cannot be fake is because not only was it only said out loud to us,
the audience, yeah,
not to Hope, not to anybody else, but to us. But it was said. What interest would the show have in making up a backstory just for us? Not for Campus Colony, not for Felix during the interrogation, not for Will Campbell, not for anybody, but just for herself. You can go as far as to say she needed to make herself believe something enough to invent some trauma, but that does not make any sense at all. It doesn't. Can't go that far down this rabbit hole in order to trick us, the audience. That's all. That will make the audience revolt. That makes no sense. Why would you do that to us? Unless you can think of a way in narrative to say, sorry, audience. I mean, you can probably, but that doesn't make sense. That's like going way out of your way for nothing. Something that could be said in episode, like in 2 seconds. So going back to this episode, the reason why it actually works is because the excuse is this is from Daniel's point of view. So now the rules are all broke. This is the truth according to Daniel Salazar. And it's valid because he wants you to get just as confused as he does by the end of the episode. And that's why it's so heartbreaking, because you believe him. Because what is the whole point of me saying all of this? The world beyond thing, the Marine backstory, Daniel's thing, is because you're supposed to believe it. And then when the facts belie that belief, you are just as helpless as he is by the end of it. And that's what makes it so heartbreaking. You take this journey with him. I love that use of craft. It sounds simple, right? It sounds so simple. There's no special effects. There's no wibbly wobbly like diddle diddle diddle. There's none of that. It's
right.
It's the truth according to him that you get the point of view. What makes it even better. Okay, like just imagine this. You're taking the journey along with him. You are just as confused as he is when the truth is revealed. Okay, one more element makes this perfect. Throughout this episode until you find out who he's talking to in the cell, that you find out in the beginning of the episode, right? He's behind bars. Why is he behind bars? You have no idea. Did he go too far with Victor? Did he shoot him in the face in the end, right? This is what's going through. What bad thing did he do? What bad thing did Daniel do? Nothing. But but the fact is, when he's in that cell talking to the camera, he's talking to June, right? But this is the element that totally brings you in, is that he's talking to you. He's getting you to join him on this journey. Like, along with the clever, again, and I mentioned this in the recap, in the live watch supercut, I mentioned like the clever use of, I'm in here, and then like it pulls it back, and then it shows the intro sequence, like the din, din. Mm-hmm. Such clever film work. I'm like, they've never done anything like that, because that's fourth wall breaking. Oh, he's talking to the audience, right? But not. But he is. And so he's engaging with you. He's getting you sucked into what happened? What happened, Daniel? What happened to you? What did you do? And then he's trying to get you to sympathize, like up until the point where you figure it out. He's getting you to sympathize. Like, I didn't know what was happening. Today was a good day. I'm talking to you, the audience. It's hard to appreciate it because it's so subtle. But it's all film work. It's all storycraft. Becky and I actually did discuss some personal struggles that Becky had with her father that made this even more emotional for her. And it's the idea of that helpless, when you have a cognitive disability. And I think that helps people relate, at least, to what Daniel must be going through. Obviously in like a more palatable, less gratuitous way. What June mentions also is that this isn't like a neurological disorder. So obviously it's psychological. It's something that's in his mind betraying him. Like some sort of stressor or like PTSD could be. Part of what Becky was telling me about was the testing that was done to diagnose, and like, it's heartbreaking because you see this stuff all the time, and if you have anybody in your life that is going through this, it's check in on them, because it's really rough for the people around that person too. She's saying, I remember my mom's as she began to realize she was losing her memory. Her mom, when it started, did well on the test, but as it progressed, the worse she got. So, and that's kind of what I want to talk about next, is that the test that they're administering right now, the CDT, the clock drawing test, and the minicog test. These are two separate tests, but they're used in conjunction to rule out the cultural biases that some psychological tests have. Classically, there are some schools of thought that think the IQ test is geared towards, more towards white European descent, or what people who grew up in like the Americas or Europe. So similar to this, like they invented the CDT so that, you're talking about time. Every culture has a concept of time, and the 60-minute clock and everything like that. So it eliminates a lot of the cultural barrier stuff. So when people are meant to draw the clock drawing test, it tests for cognitive impairment. So the placement of the numbers requires visual and spatial acuity. It also tests the subjects on numerical sequencing. So like, let's say they draw a 12 at the top and they draw a 6 on the right, and then like a 12 at the bottom, because it's administered rapidly. And also planning ability. So like, as they do the test,
is there frustration level? Is there, are they getting stuck somewhere? Where they have to take a minute to figure out what number goes next. So all of that, you're testing all at the same time. So simultaneously, the mini cog test. Now that's the beach ball, elephant. What was it? A grape.
Grapes.
So they're supposed to remember something at the beginning of the test. They do the clock test, and then he says, so yeah, what were the 3 things I told you to specifically to remember earlier? Part of doing that in conjunction with the CT assesses long-term attention, obviously, memory, and auditory processing. So let's say they hear it wrong the first time, and they spit it out weirdly the last time. Like they do it fast, but they spit it out completely wrong. It also tests motor programming and frustration tolerance above all of this. So if they get frustrated, because they can't remember, or if they get frustrated at all, if it's rapidly administered, it kind of rules out dementia as well. But this is what Becky's talking about, is that what these tests are usually for are for patients that have heart failure or stroke. They try to test their cognitive and motor skills and visual spatial learning to kind of test for dementia and Alzheimer's and stuff like that. You want to go in for better tests than this. If there's a suspicion that the patient may have dementia, you may want to go for better, more long-term testing. So Becky says, as a nurse, I've seen a lot of patients misdiagnosed with dementia who have just been hearing impaired. Yeah, and so that's what helped with that too. Having the mini cog test does test a little bit for that. So auditory processing. That's why it's commonly administered together, just like June did in this episode. Therefore, ruling out what I think all of us suspected was, oh yeah, that one too many knocks on the head from Virginia, administered by a nurse in Virginia, in the same, remember, in the same spot, come on! And man, I really thought it was like some sort of, when you get too many bashes on the head, too many concussions, that causes long-term memory loss. And
You're talking about what football players get?
Exactly that. MMA fighters, CTE, thank you, Sharon D, thank you. That's what it is, CTE, chronic traumatic encephalopathy. Thank you. You are the shit, Sharon D. You saved my bacon. You saved the Jews' bacon. Okay, now we have to go to the psychology part of this. In the past, like we were mentioning before, burning down Celia's plantation, let's say, he's experienced this before. He references that moment, thank goodness, in this episode. Otherwise, we'd have to go back and literally look at him burning the shit down with the flames reflecting in his eyeballs the whole time. That was scary, and I loved it. But it is real. Like, this guy had to infiltrate this as a double agent for the CIA and all this stuff. You're talking about a guy who's had this crazy past where you almost don't even know what side he's on, and then he comes to LA and just decides to raise a family just like that. I think that's the thing that really kills me about this episode, is that like now that Daniel is compromised, we're getting some sort of knowing which way is up sort of thing, where you can't trust yourself in this world. And it does kind of give us some echoes of John a little bit. Now, I'm not saying Daniel's on the chopping block or anything, people. Just give me a sec. But there are echoes of, well, now that this happened, I don't know which way is up. I don't know how to operate in the world knowing that this is a factor. Everybody's getting this weird awakening.
Well, the good thing is he has been through this before. It's something that he knows he can overcome.
But when you're in that state, though, do you really know, though, right? And then we don't know how he did overcome it, right? We keep bringing this shit up. Things we didn't see Sherry go through where she's been, what she's went through. So half of us we don't care. Sharon D can probably attest to that herself. She said literally before we came on, she says, "Fuck Sherry." End of episode 131.
Yeah.
So Becky's bringing up, remember in season 1 how he flayed the guy's arm, the inside of the guy's arm, the army dude, to interrogate him? Yeah, with his barber tools. Seems like every character in the Walking Dead universe has these moments where they come to terms with things they've done, things they survive. Yeah, and so Sharon D's repeating, my review, fuck Sherry, the end. So just like John, Daniel doesn't know which way is up. Just like Sherry, we don't know how he recovered from his weirdness after the fire. We thought he was dead, and then he shows up in Skidmark, I think it is, yeah? The episode called Skidmark on season 5. That's what the tape was called. And then you associate Skidmark, a thing, with Daniel, and it's kind of funny. So we didn't see that. So we don't know what happened after, and then we don't know what happened after the dam. So we had that little in between, okay, what happened? We don't know. Is he still crazy? We don't know. Okay, another element there. And then we have the element of, well, is Daniel's subconscious doing the thing where he's creating a common enemy for them to rally around? I think so. But half of me is not sure about this question that I'm going to ask you right now. Is Daniel making himself the enemy subconsciously so that he could be found out? Not purposefully. obviously.
Sharon and I talked about this at length, and every time I rewatched the episode, I wanted to see if I saw something that could trigger Daniel into his brain switching to this, protective mode. Of course, at the time, I was still convinced someone actually set the dynamite off. If we believe that the dynamite explosion was an accident, that itself could have been the trigger. That right there could have just shook Daniel's brain, and after that, right after the explosion, is probably when he moved the guns. His actions were to protect everybody, but he didn't know what he was doing. Like, he didn't remember doing that. So I think obviously he really thought there was a spy, there was a traitor in the group. I mean, he thought it was Strand. I think the whole point was to try and get the weapons back, because he did not remember moving them in his subconscious somewhere. I don't even think buried deep down he had any idea. He really thought he was fighting a threat.
I had almost thought that he subconsciously invented the threat. But what you're saying makes so much more sense than what I was thinking. Like, planting the rock on top of this thing made this thing. So I thought he did all of that.
Okay.
But I think for the sake of my own sanity, I like what you're saying better, 100% better than what I was thinking. Because, like you said, it may well have been an accident. And then, that scene right after, sort of, when they're starting arguing and all that stuff, that scene right where Charlie sees him at the door where the guns are, she goes,
Yes.
What are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, I'm checking the thing, but I saw a man who was just locking up.
Yeah, I saw the same thing.
And then making it so that he has to open it up again and show Charlie and himself, because he didn't know he did it, that there are no weapons inside, and he's just as dumbfounded.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm glad you saw what I saw, at least, so that what you're saying makes way more sense what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because I'm happy you're here, because I was going insane. I was going a little crazy. And the reason why I say that is because of this one little nugget that Sharon mentioned that I was thinking also. It would be easy to be sus of Luciana / maybe Wes. And that's because, what's the first thing that Luciana picks up to start killing the walker?
Paint can.
What are we talking about when we're talking about the end is the beginning, people?
Paint.
Like, there's no
tagging.
spray paint. Yeah, exactly. Now, I'm not ready to say Luciana's a traitor or anything like that. But then I started going through the list of things in my mind of how that could be possible. One of the things Lucy says, like near the end of season 5, is that we'll figure it out. She submits to Ginny and submits to Tanktown. And she's there working, cooking the gas with Wendell, I think, right? And then I'm myself, Lucy's isolated from the group for so long that after a while, she may have formed some allegiances. Now, again, I'm not saying I like this. A, I don't. B, I don't even think I believe this, but I have to say it out loud because I have to be the asshole. Now, what's great about that is, okay, that sort of answers some sort of questions. It also makes it so that Ginny really did not suspect Luciana at all, which means she trusts her. She's been compliant this whole time. Maybe not. The thing is about Luciana is that the biggest criticism everybody seemed to have that did not like seasons 4 through 5 is a weak Luciana. Oh, I'm always injured, blah, blah, blah. Why am I still here? That feeling. Like, what is she? Get her out, like Trump in a in a convention. Get him out of here. Get Luciana out of here. Everybody was saying basically, oh, she's dead. She's next. But what if? What if Chambliss and Goldberg were like, oh, you wanted her off the show. What about this? What about this shit? Maybe.
I'm for it. I could definitely see it. The only thing I'm hung up on is the same thing that I always get hung up on is why. Could we say that she feels resentful for having been at Tanktown for so long? Is she resentful towards the group? Right, exactly. That's what I like. That's the piece that's missing for me. Like, I'm all for Spy Lucy. I'm behind this 100%. But I just need I need a reason for her to turn on our group. Could it be as simple as that? You stuck me in Tanktown and sort of forgot about me, so screw all of you now?
The reason why it sucks is because, like you said, we don't see that progression. If we get a flashback, that's kind of a cheap way out. My thing is it's probably going to be explained narrative, like as things happen, she'll backtrack with Alicia or whomever, Wes or whatever, or found talking to John Glover's character, Teddy, off, and then oh, Alicia busts in, oh, what's this? You were my brother's girlfriend. What happened? I thought you were part of our family. I don't know. Whatever. I still don't like it. I don't like it personally. I'm not saying wouldn't be great narrative, but I also like, there's a part of me that's just like, God damn, like after the kids and all that, and like sacrificing herself at Tangtown only to be a person who resents the entire group for it.
Well, like you just said, everybody's been screaming for Lucy to have more screen time, so here you go. Deal with it.
There you go. Exactly. Exactly.
You asked for it.
And I think that contingent of people would love that. I was part of that. I liked Lucy through and through. I wanted her to have an episode, not to be like, oh, fuck this girl, what is she doing? You know, like, I wasn't one of those. I was like, okay, look, they'll find a way. Someday. She got her little moment at the end of season 5. She got a little bit of this in this season, you know, a little badassery. Sure, why not? And then Sharon D has to say something completely makes sensible. She was easily swayed by La Colonia, back in season 2, the second half. And then she says she's into cults, you know, because they were all about preserving the dead in that little circle, protecting La Colonia, the people who turned. Remember the school bus was the bridge? The doctor who runs La Colonia was bit.
Okay, I got it.
See,
got it.
Instantly get you to remember. But like he was bit by a person.
Okay.
At the end, you find out. Okay.
Yes.
Spoiler alert: we're in season 6. It's season 2, folks. You should know this shit by now.
All right. I just needed a refresher.
And then Charity has to go and say, maybe Teddy's giving her the D. Okay, listen, let's talk a little bit about that just for a second. Like, if it was John Glover giving me the D, I'd be like, I'm pro. He's a sexy goddamn man. Even with the whatever crazy beard. I'm like, you know, take me now. Going back to the actual act of picking up the paint can, you can easily say it's a little thing to get you to suspect her. And maybe that's it. That's it, folks. That's all. And the fact that Fallon and Wes ride off together could be like, but maybe the whole thing, even when the truth is revealed, you're still kind of going afterwards like, but maybe it's not how, you know, like, right, tell me that, like, you were still kind of like thinking, but maybe this was an elaborate setup and Daniel got fucked over by the people he trusted most. I was thinking at one point, maybe they're all, this is how crazy I was getting. I said, maybe most, if not all, if none of them, like, why wouldn't they get the one
like a whole conspiracy against Daniel?
I know, it's terrible just to even think about, but like, right, the biggest weapon in your arsenal is Daniel. Daniel is unkillable, is a killer, a torturer. He will fuck your shit up. What better way to get him out of there?
Why would you want him out of there? You want that guy on your side. If
you were the end is the beginning cult, or whatever, like, let's say you were all interested in I don't know, my brain was crazy, and I think I like it. I like having that crazy brain. It says that they did a good job with this thing.
Yeah. I still can't say for sure if the TNT explosion was an accident or not. I'm still not sure about that.
You know what? The fact that you said it out loud, it just makes it make more sense. It just makes so much more sense. Like, first of all, how elaborate would it have had to have been for it to be on purpose? See, it would be one thing if he didn't know that he locked away, he hid the weapons. It would be one thing if he mistakenly circled the wrong thing up in the map and said don't go instead of go. Do you know what I mean? To the shack / caverns. But it would be a whole other level of what the fuck if he actually did the explosion. These two things, the shack and the hiding the weapons, that makes sense in the realm of psychological self-sabotage, right? But the explosion is like a step way too far. I can't even imagine, like, psychologically speaking, subconsciously, that he would want to hurt people, because, dude, that sheet metal that came from that ceiling almost like hit those people walking by. And I'm thinking to myself, there is no way, even subconscious Daniel, because that square I had to circle at one point, like, even subconscious Daniel, deeply seated demolitions expert that I think I could believe Daniel subconsciously would even take the chance of hurting other people. He would do it just for the shock and awe.
But he admitted letting the walkers in just to find out who stole the weapons. That to me seems more dangerous.
I think the explosion is more unpredictable than walkers, though. Don't you think?
Well, I mean, the the explosion was at least, I mean, you can't stop people from walking past. Okay,
Yeah.
First of all, I'm not saying Daniel did the explosion whatsoever. But if someone other than Daniel did it, well, if it's the end as the beginning people, they don't really, then they don't care. If Daniel set off the explosions, it's hard because I can't see like a grand view of the place, but it seemed like it was in more of like an isolated area.
But see, the thing is, we know for a fact that Daniel openly admits that he let the walkers in to test which makes sense. I said it right out loud. I was like, oh, the
You
name
did.
rhymes with
Yeah.
Schmanuel. Yeah. So
Yeah, you did.
and I was like, that is a Daniel move. That is him embracing the old to weed out the new. I don't know if it was Daniel. I don't know if it was an accident. And actually, I don't know if it was the end of the beginning people too.
Right.
It seems harder for me to believe that it's Daniel. It's the more I think about it. But one tick corner of it probably being Daniel is what he says in the beginning, which I need to kind of root out a little bit better. When Strand basically admits that, the better man won. And he said, I don't know why I got such satisfaction from him saying that. And at the same time, maybe that was the very thing that started that all off. That either he had to keep it going in order to keep things up and running.
Okay, so I had the same thought you did. It meant so much to him because he was already starting to lose it mentally, and he forgot for a moment who he was talking to. And so a compliment felt good, and he was just overlooking who it came from because the whatever was going on in his mind was already happening to him. But then I sort of nixed that because the explosion hadn't happened yet, and I'm like, wait, no, that can't be. So he never really answers that though.
But I think when he mentions it, it's already way after all these events happen. So he's saying that he appreciated that comment.
Yeah.
But this is when he's explaining it to June at the end of the episode. So maybe that's like I could appreciate it then because I thought that I had the run of my faculties, but little did I know I didn't.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I could appreciate that now.
Do you want to hear how crazy my brain went? Like you said you went crazy suspecting everybody.
Yeah.
I went completely off the deep end. Like I don't think this anymore. But
more than suspecting everybody against Daniel?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ready? Okay. So
Damn,
we know
I didn't know there was a level lower than that.
So we know Daniel has military background, right? Like ops stuff, like dark stuff. Okay. So that is in his past. Okay. This is like embarrassing to admit out loud. I'm going to start out by saying I don't believe this anymore. Okay. But these thoughts did at one point enter my mind. Okay. I had thought at some point in the near past that we haven't seen yet, or maybe we won't see it, someone from the end of the beginning group met up with Daniel, got a hold of Daniel, and like brainwashed him into having these subconscious thoughts. And so when we saw this episode, it was Daniel. Daniel was doing all of these things because he was ordered to. He was like the sleeper cell in the group. And someone from the end as the beginning group like turned him on. So yeah. Okay. Do you feel better now? Do you feel better now?
It's my turn. I didn't think that far off from you.
Yeah.
Because do you remember when I said in the live watch, maybe this is a level deeper than we ever imagined? Like I was saying something to the effect of, maybe this is all like a super Daniel 4. Like,
yeah.
What if he's even trying to fool June on this one, right? He's given you his point of view to kind of paint something that even he can believe in order to fool June in the moment, which is why he's passing all the cognitive tests, which is why he's passing all the motor tests. Here's the thing. I can still choose to believe that in a weird way because, again, the camera's showing you what happened from his point of view.
Right.
And if his point of view is deception, meaning to deceive the audience, again, I don't believe this. I don't believe Daniel would make allegiances knowingly or not with the end as the beginning people. I don't think so. You don't see graffiti at Lawton. You don't see graffiti at what was the shack?
Nope.
The fireworks shack.
It is there now, though. That's what they were saying.
It's there now. Yeah.
Now it's there.
Right. But not before, which is key because what happens in that episode is Morgan even meets up with those people and just murks the shit out of those two people spraying the end as the beginning stuff at the beginning. So don't feel embarrassed. Because, again, I'm thinking crazy thoughts like I would never blame Charlie. Ever. I would never suspect her. But then I said maybe. And then I said maybe it's everybody being against him. And then I was thinking, oh, maybe Daniel is just playing 3 levels deeper psychologically speaking than I could ever imagine, which makes sense given the character. The guy was double dipping with his government, turning the way, and then being a rebel, then also being a rebel for the CIA. And it was just like, I don't even know what's going on at all with him. His past confuses me even still. I just know that he had a lot of things, kind of like Morgan, 16 different somebodies, whatever. And that was before the apocalypse. Morgan was 16 after the apocalypse. I just like the parallel on that well. And then there's like, well, which one of those things was Daniel, right? Was it all of them? Or was it just the shack? Or was it not the shack? Maybe the shack was the end of the beginning people and everything else was all Daniel. So that is more palatable to me, or even the accident thing in the beginning with the explosion is more palatable to me. All of it, that being Daniel, makes me a little nervous. But regardless of that, let's put that aside. What I want to bring it around to again is back to the end, because it's clear that however this all shook out, whether the beginning thing was an accident or not, right? The beginning explosion that maybe set things in motion. But everything else that happens is definitely all Daniel, for sure, right? Because they're verifiable. Daniel definitely hid the weapons away. Daniel definitely wrote the wrong thing on the map and said the wrong thing to Charlie and Grace. Those are verifiably incorrect as per Daniel's face mouth. Okay? So when we get to the end, it's clear that Daniel is confused. It's clear that also Daniel subconsciously was trying to protect the group by hiding the weapons from an unknown threat that he doesn't even know about, or that he's inventing for them to either rally together or root out each other, or kind of get them to turn on each other, or at least figure out who is really invested. When clearly it seems like by the end of this thing, even though they're kind of burnt out on Daniel and burnt out on this place, there's this glimmer that once the audience comes in and tries to figure out what's going on with Daniel and seeing a man fall apart, what was once a situation where maybe they could have rallied to fight a common enemy, it seemed like by the end of it, even though it did kind of fizzle out, they were rallying together for a common friend. And that turned everything around for me. That was something I didn't expect. Saw everybody kind of be uncomfortable and terrible for this one man who's clearly been through a lot. And it turned the common enemy narrative on its head. It's like, you don't need to have a common enemy to get together. You just need to see the pain of one man and say, how are you doing? Is everything okay? I watched it the second time around. I was like, it took everything I thought we needed to get together. Like everything I'd been saying about Ginny, right? Like, Ginny, we're going to all get together and Ginny's going to help out, but fight the end as the beginning. And part of what helped me kind of get to that road about saying, oh, wait, this is kind of 5 season 4 shit. Like, oh, the impossible is possible. Like, okay, we can rally around one man who's having a hard time, having a crisis. This is mental health. And we can rally behind him so that we can get together behind him. Now, maybe, the battle was lost, but they won the war kind of thing. Like, maybe today's battle was lost. After everything ever happened, it makes Victor taking him on a little bit sweeter, even though I have more to say about that. But having Victor say, even in spite of everything, and we'll talk more about Victor a little later, but even having Victor take, let's say, responsibility over Daniel, saying, I have been responsible for what happened to you seasons ago. You can tell. He says, oh, I'm not doing this for me. He says that. And when Daniel comes in and checks on him, just after he was about to shoot him in the fucking face, you see Victor crying by the window. He's wiping off tears from his face. Maybe because he was almost dying. Fine, I'll take that. But I know that Victor has to be a certain way in order to survive in this world. Or to survive, period. You're talking about a man who's had to be a certain way so people can never get close enough for them to be able to tell what he's really feeling. Because if for 1 second he can't put on a face, that's when he loses the con, aka life, that veneer, that narcissism that makes him grandiose, right? And so when he comes in, Daniel catches him crying by the thing, and he's like, why do you care about this place? So he turns it around on him. He's like, why do you care? You hate half the people here, and and you can barely stand the people that you can stand, and you can't stand the rest of them. So I see Victor clearly, like, as much as we suspect him, and we did. We all were happy. Again, they all were happy, and we all were happy when we suspected. We were. I mean, part of me was just like, who's helping Strand? Strand is obviously the one, right? He had the gun, right? He had the gun. We suspected him from last episode. Like, that whole shit.
I felt he was too obvious this time.
But yes, but at the same time, like, part of you is just kind of like, oh yeah, but who else? who else was in on this shit?
The first person that I thought was Sherry, honestly.
Yeah,
Sherry
I mean,
and Raleigh.
And what was the thing that got you to like, oh, it's definitely her?
Where she stops Daniel from searching their tents, flips the script, and tries to blame Grace and Charlie. Fuck you, Sherry.
It doesn't make sense. But, oh yeah, why are you blaming
Well, as soon as...
why are you blaming the pregnant lady and the kid?
Well, when Daniel searched their stuff, and she's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I'm like, oh, you're guilty. I don't even care what she said after that. Like, if you have nothing to hide, show your shit. Like, it's that simple.
But it's funny. That's the easy way out, though, too. Like, and I was just like, oh, what's that? Why she say I said that too. But then after I was watching the episode, even Sarah is ready to throw Charlie under the bus.
See,
and that's very important, man. That's really, really important. Like, we're so easily.
I didn't see that.
You didn't see it? She said maybe Chuckles is working on the other side?
No, I heard the line. That's just not what I took from it. She said, wasn't it Chuckles not too long ago playing for the other side? She was just reminding everybody that Charlie had once been on the opposite side. I mean...
The other side of where you are now? What?
Well, yeah. Like,
Literally
I didn't...
episode name?
I guess I didn't see Sarah, and maybe I'm a little biased, but I didn't see Sarah throwing Charlie under the bus, because...
That's literally what I was saying.
I just saw her saying, like, well, guys, remember... we trust her now, but she was once on the other side too. So it really could be anybody. That's how I took it.
That's how you took it? You're saying that Sarah was defending Sherry, kind of, in a way? Like,
she's just reminding the group, like, at some point in the near past, well, I guess in the apocalypse, it was a decade ago, right?
Yeah.
At one point, Charlie was on the bad guy's side. Let's not forget that this can happen.
I think I know what you're saying. You're trying to say that we've all done something. Is that what you're trying to say? Like, even Charlie's gone to the other side. Like, we've all been, like, look at Sarah. Like, this is the thing. We've all done something. And it's easy to forget that even Sarah was an asshole. Yeah. Sarah, like, conned. It was like, oh, yeah, we know Polar Bear. Yeah, like Morgan. Yeah, and then they leave him stranded at the top of a car, ready to get him to die. Taking Jimbo and his beer recipe with Wendell and going off to the sun. Yeah, they've all been assholes, and also not in the distant past too. Actually, in fact, Sarah was sooner than Chuck. Like, you do not. If you're talking about the time jumps that they were having before,
Sarah wasn't even around when Charlie made the switch.
Exactly. Becky's saying another Sherry tidbit. She lived through Negan and the Slick and Devious. Yeah, I mean, and that's what I attributed her suspecting Grace and Charlie to. Like, thing is, you have to take it all into account. They've all been motherfuckers. I was going to even say to myself, what did Sarah do? And then I completely forgot. I didn't even put in my notes. Like, what did Luciana do? Well, Luciana was working for a cult, essentially. Like, easily swayed. Not easily swayed, but like that fought for a cause, but with bad intentions. They've all done something. Wes was kind of an asshole when we first met him. Almost didn't care about, like, Alicia / Strand dying, etc. or Mitch. And then, of course, Dakota, right? We can't, that's like low-hanging fruit. What are you going to say, right? Becky says, plot twist, the traitor is Grace.
Oh my gosh. I would really not see that coming. That would definitely blow my mind. Grace's baby is the spy.
Wait, I've got it. What if Grace's baby is Madison?
No, it's a boy. It's a boy.
Her feeling? No, Madison. The whole point is that how great this episode was it got you to think of everybody. It totally got you to think of everybody. Even if you didn't want to admit it too. You feel embarrassed admitting all the crazy theories you thought of. Meanwhile, it was just Annie. I was thinking, like, okay, what does Samuels have to say about this? Because we didn't really see her as much in this episode. Again, that's probably a COVID thing. I have no idea. She wasn't even on screen. So, like, what is the deal? And here's the thing. It may still have been, but I don't want to throw you guys into, like, for a loop. But you don't see her throughout all of this stuff making back channel moves, because there's a part of me, like, as much as I was to see Victor take Daniel in, there was that part of me that, even though that was so heartwarming to see somebody go, I'm taking responsibility for this man who is helpless. And maybe that connects you to the thing that he says, I've never been so satisfied to hear somebody admit to me, a Khan acknowledging a Khan, that, the better man won. That maybe that connects that to the end. I'm all for it. My heart was pounding, Super Strand 4, going past the whole trying to be another Ginny. That thing warmed my heart. But after that, I started thinking to myself two things. One, it could have been Strand all along anyway, which is the easy sort of like, it was Strand all along. You know, like that sort of like, yeah, solved for X. X
Yeah.
equals Strand.
I think
That's
everybody would expect that.
Meanwhile, Sharondy's saying I wanted Daniel to shoot him in the face.
Yeah, that moment right when Daniel's about to pull the trigger too, the look on Ruben's face.
It's over. It's over.
Oh, he had already pulled the trigger. He had already
Right.
pulled it.
And might as well have. And the whole point of it was you can survive a shot to the face. I did. And Daniel explaining that whole thing, like taking out the prosthetic.
The magical prosthetic piece that he just manifested out of nowhere.
Well, again, it's I'm for it. The only reason why I'm for it is because it's been a long time. You don't know who he's been with. He had a friend in the warehouse. The warehouse was stocked with all these wonderful things. I don't know. I'm okay. Everybody had a comment about that. I'm like, just let it go. Let it go. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's been many years since the dam. Many years. I'm sure he figured it out. Anyway, him saying the wincing while drinking a glass of water, the whole eating soup for life, wheezing while breathing, while sleeping, never forgetting the person who did this to you. That shit's real.
Hiding the pain when you talk.
And he's ready. And he's in this psychological state where he's just like, I don't know what's going on, but it has to be you. You've outdone me for the last time. And it's like the very compliment that he gave him in the beginning of the episode was the very thing that made him so mad that he appreciated it so much. It's like, why did I appreciate that comment so much at the time? It's the very thing that makes him so mad at the end. You know, I thought this was over. It's not over, is it? It's what makes what happens at the end. The gesture that Victor takes on and makes possible for him to take care of him, to do all this stuff, makes it so heartwarming. It actually, like, it just like almost broke me to see.
Do you trust Victor with Daniel? I don't.
Okay, so the second that happened, after that, I let the good feelings wash off. and then all of a sudden I started thinking to myself,
oh shit.
Now wait. Now, so what was I saying just a second ago? I said the easiest thing to go is X. It was Strand all along. That is so lazy thinking. So lazy thinking. I'm gonna go ahead and say, just for now, I'm gonna assume everything that happened. It's Daniel having a memory problem, because the reason why it has to be, is because why would they put us through all of this to feel something for Daniel in the way that we do, only to say, haha, we fooled you? It's too much. It has to be real. Yeah. It has to mean something. We have to connect to this character in a way that makes us believe that this is part of the narrative that makes up the entire season. Otherwise, the whole just fooling me thing, just for shock and awe and trying to get you to go down a rabbit hole, only to be completely fooled at the end. There's only so much cruelty that you can put on an audience before they pull out. It's kind of what they did in season 7, season 8. People did check out. They checked out. You don't want to do that. Okay, but going back, the more complex issue situation for the end, Victor taking him on, is okay, I have him right where I want him. He is vulnerable, and now I have a problem, which is the end is the beginning, people. I gotta mind the store. What better shop owner than Daniel? Like, what better security guard?
Who's there for Daniel? Daniel has no, support of his own except Strand. Strand is gonna get him through this crisis? I don't think so.
Here's where I land on this. And it's a very iffy but better outcome. One of the things that Daniel says in the episode is, part of what I was doing was trying to raise Ophelia in an environment that she deserved, to be the father that she deserved. But in the end, I couldn't be the whole person that I wanted to be. I pretended to be somebody I wasn't. Lied to her, I kept things from her, which, look, you, me, and the wall would do for our nieces, nephews, sons anyway. Like, we wouldn't tell them everything. Why would we tell them everything? Maybe when they're old enough, who knows? Ophelia was clearly old enough, who knows? But even a part of me was saying, okay, maybe, let's go with that. And he said, in here, I could be the man I was meant to be. I could tell the stories of my past. I could tell everything. It's over now. What am I holding these intelligence secrets for? I could tell everybody about everything, all the horrible things I've done, because we've all done something horrible. I could be all of me, because clearly part of the psychological problems that he was having in the plantation was his past coming back to grab him again. Like, all the things that were happening in the plantation, let's say Celia's plantation, like the gunshots going off in the middle of the night, the nightmares, they were just triggering his PTSD, and it was making him go down a path in his mind that he couldn't get out of. This kind of reliving that they're losing Griselda, like from the first not the first episode, but the season 1. All that was triggering. He says something about being whole, like being himself. Then I was trying to think, what does that look like? What does that look like? Can he truly be himself in this place where you can't murder people and you can't You can't do a lot of things that he used to do. Well, now Victor's offer to go to Lawton would give him that opportunity to just be whatever he's meant to be. No restrictions, no boundaries. He can make himself up to be the kind of man he wants to be. A little bit of this, little column A, little column B, but in the meantime, it does make us want to go back to the song, Handle with Care. I do think Victor is genuinely not only giving him a place where he can be cared for with, I'm sure, a way better non-self-centered ranger community than Ginny's. Like, I think even Ginny's rangers were kind of like, there were really no consequences for us. We could do whatever the fuck we wanted. At least, kind of like Dakota, we wanted to live in a world where there were consequences for our actions. Like, okay, not just like trying to take control over things or not trying to deceive Ginny. No, like if we do something wrong, we'll be held accountable. We got Samuels for that, right? She looks like somebody that could take charge, right? What do I mean by this? So Daniel can live in a world with rules, with consequences, but also in a world where he has some sort of authority. He can be an enforcer. He can be that guy if he needs to be. You know, whereas in the Dam, he can't be all of himself. That's why, like, I think him going to Lawton allows him to be the man that he could be, let's say for Charlie, right? But he could also be that part of him that is allowed to at least take some sort of windy road into like maybe it's a torture, maybe it's somebody who's a security person, maybe it's somebody who tries to figure out plans, like somebody who's tactical, maybe it's somebody who kills people, but he could be all of himself. Whereas at the Dam, I don't think he could be. I don't think he can explore the totality of himself.
I don't see why one place is different than the other. One place has people you know and love, the other doesn't. But
yes, I feel that too. I was like almost in tears when Charlie was in tears trying to say goodbye to him. I was too.
I get that he realizes that he's dangerous right now too. He is a risk for those people that he loves and cares about to be around because he can't trust himself. He can't trust his mind right now. So you know what? I'm gonna switch. I do agree. Lawton is the best place for him because if he's gonna burn someplace down, let it be Lawton.
But hold on. Now we have to go back to Victor's intentions. What do you think of them?
I think Strand's intentions are always the same in any situation, and it is self-preservation for his own survival.
As much hints as we may be fed by the showrunners that we should think that he's a super fucking asshole, and even I've yelled out, "Fuck you, Strand." I've said that. Remember? What's the rule? Trust your feelings, but don't go with your first instinct. Your feelings may say at the moment, screaming at you, saying, "Dude, punch him in the face. Punch Strand in the face." Shoot him in the face, right, Sharon?
Yeah.
But don't trust it, because what you're feeling right now is what they want you to feel. They want you to not trust Strand, even at the end of this episode.
I've never trusted Strand. This
Right.
episode didn't do anything for me.
I think his interactions with Alicia tell me he's a man who's struggling to find the right path to be for his friends. To show you, I'm not doing this because of myself. I'm trying to do this for you, Alicia. He says this verbatim. I'm doing this for you, Alicia.
He wants to be better, but can he? Is it in his nature? No, I don't believe it is. He's the Scorpion.
I rewatched Welcome to the Club. I see him have this near emotional breakdown, trying to struggle with letting Alicia down and saying, "I have to do this my way. I'm doing it for you." You know, so I have this thing where like,
And his way. Remind us again what his way is.
even if it's his way, it's for Alicia. It's for her or for us.
But remind us again. What was his way? Oh, right. Killing someone else.
Yeah.
To do that. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right. That's Strand's way.
Okay. Wait. Let me turn this logic around on you. What was the thing that you said to me last week? Oh, was he the symbol of hope? He wasn't in our group.
Yeah.
Strand would say the same thing. I'm just saying you're being like him is emblematic of like, oh, we shouldn't trust our first instinct. It could be that Strand is just doing this for Alicia, but it seems more likely that he's doing this for everybody, but he's just doing it his way because he thinks his way is the best way. And that just makes...
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I think most
no
people
matter what he
would
thinks
think
his way is
that.
the best way.
Yeah.
It's just what is the end game, right? I'm going to still be in the camp that he's doing this for everybody, but he's doing it his way. And look, that never ends well. What did we say about Carol? Your way or the highway is not usually a good way. Look, it gets the job done, maybe, right? But are we willing to give Strand the same leeway we give Carol? No. However, He's doing the same thing.
We haven't known Strand as long as we've known Carol either, so there's a little bit of that. But if Strand does something selfless, I think it might be the last thing he ever does.
I think he's going to be on the show for a long time, unless it's the one necessary to keep Alicia on the show. That's what I think. Because he's proven he's done that before.
Well, Sharon and I have been talking a lot about how busy Coleman is in life.
Oh, come on.
He's very busy and got a lot going on. So,
but remember, we said that about Rosita too, and we were dead wrong. So wrong. She did not end up on the Pikes. She didn't die in season 10, although she may as well have been. Like by the end of it, we didn't see a lick of her. She got injured. And she never showed up again. This just goes to show that we can't trust ourselves when it comes to the careers that the actors have.
Right.
You literally can't trust that at all. I think we've been wrong multiple times when we've tried to do this, except for one. But then we didn't even suspect that she was going to leave the show. It was Brianna Venskis. She's awfully busy. He's been awfully, and she was always awfully busy. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
She's always doing
Walking
something.
Dead,
Yeah.
Supergirl, and we're like, oh yeah, so that seems pretty normal for her. And meanwhile, come on.
She was on Good Trouble. She was on
That's 4.
The L Word, I think.
5.
Yeah. I know there's at least a couple I'm forgetting. I know it.
Yeah. So don't go by that rule. That's not a good rule. It's a terrible rule. Look at Kari Payton. Oh man, how many actors is he voicing? 20? Has he voiced on Invincible alone, which is an incredible animated series. He's like doing 3 voices alone.
Oh my gosh. He
still manages to film The Walking Dead. So Becky is actually admitting Strand is trying to relieve his guilty conscience of it. That's the thing I'm struggling with this episode. I'm seeing a Strand not ready to admit to out loud that he is taking responsibility for his actions, but I'm also okay with admitting that he may be using Daniel for his own plans, machinations.
Mm-hmm.
But I will be open to admitting that even though he is partially using Daniel for his own machinations, I am willing to concede a little bit that maybe it's the best for both of them. Maybe Daniel having something to do where he trusts himself to keep people safe in an active brain, doing actual real plans to not sabotage themselves, but to sabotage others, is a good thing for Daniel to have something to do. Yeah, I mean, it may not solve the problem, but it channels that settledness that June mentions. This is what I was trying to say before. Instead of feeling settled, he has something to do. And in the meantime, June can still visit him and say, we're going to try and exercise. We're going to have you not do something for like 2 hours and see how you do. That's all. You know what I'm saying? Like she could read up more on how to treat him on an active level. And it may even be closer for her to get to if Sarah is with June, it seems. And then they can go together to visit Daniel. And
they'd get there real fast if Sherry would give up the MRAP.
I think that's what made Sherry the most upset, is because she is not the reason. Gas is the reason, it seems, that they can't see each other. But the only working vehicle, it seems, or the one that seems to be most active and most terrain worthy is the MRAP. And that's why Wendell can't make it to Morgan's Dam, it seems. And so Becky even says Daniel probably established friends in Lawton when he was being his own stylist. That could be true, but they were built on
lies.
Built on a lie. So
yeah,
I don't know. That might play into it, though. By the way, so there might be some cool.
He's gonna have to go back to Lawton and be like, "Just kidding, guys."
Editor's note. What happened right after this moment was we went into a 26-minute rant about basically what to do with Dakota. It was a very heated conversation, a very confrontational one, but one that at least reached some sort of logical conclusion. That being said, it didn't fit the overall context of what we were speaking about this entire episode. And I realize that we often go into some tangents here and there on the show, but most times we'll find our way back. This was the kind of tangent that really took us out of the episode entirely. The things that we were talking about in terms of Dakota, the feelings towards Dakota, what was and wasn't done, what is continuing to be done with her on the show, just didn't fit what we were talking about in terms of the context of the episode. I will, however, release the content after this episode premieres. I'll do a small episode following up with this episode 132. I am no stranger to a 2-hour plus episode, and at some point I just had to stop and say, this feels like it could be its own little topic of conversation that kind of makes sense in its own encapsulated episode. So without further ado, please enjoy the rest of the episode, and away we go. On a lighter note, hey Rabbi, it's kosher. Did you catch that?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know why I got just like a little tickle in my belly. Because it's the joy. That's the thing that really got me. It's like, and that little laugh at the end. It's like, this is the best day of Daniel's life. I mean, outside of having a daughter that's alive.
So, aw. So when something's kosher, it's been blessed by a rabbi, correct? Is there more to it than that?
That's more of a halal thing. Kosher, I can go through that again. We did a little bit of that in Ner Tamid.
I thought he's a rabbi, isn't everything they eat kosher? He could bless it all. That was my sad attempt at a joke. Sorry. It failed and flopped.
The real answer is that it's way too complicated to talk about in a single podcast. There's like different levels of observance, and do you have meat plates where you only eat meat? Do you have dairy plates where you only eat dairy? You know, like that's a high level kosher where you can't put meat and dairy in the same plate. You can't have, and then the plates that you reserve for meat only and dairy would be dairy, vegetarian, whatever. See, it doesn't go through. It doesn't go through. It takes years of yeshiva study. What does Daniel know? Okay, it's a vegetarian tomato soup. I think we're okay. Also, I was thinking about this, by the way, because now that we're here, who cares? Because here's the thing. Jews have this interesting thing where if it's called pikuach nefesh, meaning if your life is in danger, all bets are off. You don't even have to keep the Sabbath, and the Sabbath is a big one. You'd think the kosher thing is pretty big. It's not big. That's a small thing. That's a lifestyle choice. Sabbath is holy. If it can't, and me and my dad just talked about this. If it comes down to respecting your parents and keeping the Sabbath wins. And it's the only time the Sabbath wins. You can, if your parents tell you to not keep the Sabbath, you can tell your parents, go fuck yourself. Okay, so Sharon remembers the whole kashrut conversation in Ner Tamid. It was a lot, though. We were talking about candy wrappers. Remember the Circle K that you would see on the candy wrappers? Noting that it was certified? Yeah, There you go. You want a shortcut to the meat conversation? The animal has to die painlessly. And there's a specific guideline on how that animal has to be slaughtered. Slaughter is such a weird word. It's like painlessly euthanized. And the way, according to the Torah, is a sharp knife with no nicks and just cutting the vein or the artery going to the brain so that they don't feel the pain, and then they bleed out, and that's it. They don't feel any of it. That's the rule. If there's nicks in the blade, that means you tore. That means they felt that tear. That means you can't even eat it. Even if you do it wrong, you can't eat it. Because the whole point is that the animal cannot suffer. Sharon says it perfectly. The Game of Thrones quote, "Lamb sees the knife, fear taints the meat." Daniel clearly has PTSD. A lot of what happens with Daniel in this episode, bottom line, is something that we've said about other characters as well. In some ways, John recreates the circumstances with which he could do it better this time around. What do I mean by that? John is trying to be a cop in Lawton, trying to just do good, trying to give people a sense of which way is up, and even himself. Okay, maybe we can do this. Maybe we can figure this out, just like June does, and she does. You know, she's working for the hospital, etc., doing it better. When John doesn't figure it out, it all goes wrong. It's the same thing with Ed Gein. Ed Gein was trying to recreate the circumstances with which he could save his daughter again in Alicia and Charlie, right? It all goes to pot, but he gives them a warning. Don't do what I did. Sherry is doing this a little bit too, with a replacement Negan, and now that Negan is gone, you can clearly see Sherry's trying to recreate the circumstances where she can save everybody from a Negan. Daniel, throughout this episode, is trying to think of a way he can recreate the circumstances with which he can solve a problem. To be a Daniel is a weird mystery to him because he doesn't be that person, a whole Daniel, without taking in elements from his past, those darker elements, but trying to do it for the people he loves. So what does he do? He invents an enemy, himself. If he turns the guns all on him, subconsciously, he can make up for all the shitty, horrible, nightmarish things he must have done. The things that may have ultimately made it impossible for him to connect with Ophelia before she died. I deserve this, he says at the end. So in the process of maybe trying to recreate a situation where he can maybe solve it, in the end he despairs and he says, "I got what I deserve." Because at the same time, it goes back to the final question that everybody that I listed, Ed, John, Sherry, and even Alicia with Charlie, possibly taking Charlie back to the dime, recreating the circumstances with which we could do it back. Maybe second chances, but second chances that don't really exist. Daniel says, the question is asked, who are you now that you've gotten everything that you want? Daniel, he feels like he's having the good day. Rabbi, it's kosher. The better man won. He sees Grace's baby, reminds him of Ophelia. Like, yes, maybe these things set him off too. He's having a hard time dealing with the man that he's seeing right now. And also, who am I that man without Griselda and Ophelia? Who am I now without those people? I don't know who I am, and it scares me. Am I that man with Charlie? Can I possibly deserve love after everything I've been through? All the lies that I had to tell the people I love, even Charlie, trying to play, was at the end of the line, Traveling Wilburys? I had to lie to her face. Are you a friend of Ophelia's? This is the aftershock. This is the thing that Carol asks Daryl. The world will catch up with us eventually, right? Is this what's happening to Dan? Is all the things kind of like now that the dust is settled? Have you ever taken a road trip that's taken, like you're literally driving for like more than 3 days, 2 days maybe? Like all you're doing is pit stops, maybe getting a bite to eat at a diner.
Well, the longest I've driven was 24 hours.
I can tell you this, even in a comfy, not like, economy car, like it's like a Camry, right? I've taken trips that have lasted days, 3 days, 3.5 days, 4 straight on the road. You're sleeping, your friend's driving, you're driving, your friend's sleeping. Finally got to the end and I'm settling in bed and you're like, oh, it's a quiet moment. I could pass out. I can go to sleep. I can't. Why? My body's vibrating. It's the road. It's still in me. I can't settle because I'm still feeling the road through my fingertips. And it just takes forever. And this is Daniel right now. He's ridden this road for so long. This is after all the shit he's done pre-apocalypse. Setting himself on fire, getting shot in the face, being in isolation undoubtedly for a while, finding people to care about, having to lie after being hit in the head, taken to Lawton for several months, trying to be somebody who he wasn't. And I don't know how long that's been. I don't know what the effects are. I have no idea. What does it take for somebody to lie to everybody for so long? That's hard. So who are you now that you've gotten everything you wanted, but after you had to do so much to get there? And I get it. Sharon says, sea legs. That's exactly what I'm talking about. She mentions sea legs. I get sea legs. If I've taken a cruise once, and holy shit, if I still have sea legs for a week plus, where my equilibrium is doing this, and I'm walking straight, but I feel funny because I feel like I need to compensate for the boat. And I'm like that for like a long time after I've been on land. So she says, when you've been on the water for so long, when you get back on land, you can't stand straight because you still feel the waves under you. Yeah. I spent 2 weeks on my dad's 32-foot sailboat. Oh my God, that must have been horrible back on land.
You won't catch me on a boat, period. I don't do boats. I don't get on
like
boats.
A phobia?
Yeah.
Oh, getting to know you. I'm sorry. I like being on the sea.
My cousin and my uncle died on a fishing boat, so I don't step foot on boats. I tried getting on a boat after that, and I had a complete freak out and panic attack, and I've never stepped foot on a boat since. I take that back. I did get on a ferry that goes up and down our river here called the Princess Winona, and I did get on that. So my rule with boats is I have to see land. If I can't swim to shore when the boat eventually goes down, because that's where my head is, we're sinking. We're gonna sink. So I have to be able to swim to land.
I can see you working up. But the kudos to you. You did it.
Yeah.
You did it when you said you wouldn't do it and had a freak out the first time, but you did it again.
Yeah.
Good for you. That's tough, man.
And that was 15 years ago.
I think you could do it again. I'm not saying go harder.
I don't.
Let's
Eric,
not throw you into the deep end, metaphorically.
Eric's talking about cruises and stuff, and I'm like, oh, hell no, that's never going to happen. You will never get me on a cruise.
Well,
never.
See, but Sharon has a good idea for you. She said we were in the Keys sailing from island to island. It wouldn't be too bad. You'd be like near the...
Can you see the land? That's my deal breaker.
Yeah, she says always
see it.
Always in sight of land. So maybe that's the next step, maybe. Like the next, visual aid.
Maybe.
Let's beat this motherfucker.
I told Eric if he were to ever get me on a cruise, the only one he could ever convince me to go on is the Walking Dead cruise.
Really? That's interesting.
I mean, how could I say no to that?
And you know what? You'd be so distracted, you wouldn't even occur to you. And you know what the funny thing is about a cruise ship? It doesn't feel like you're on a boat.
Then I would feel bad though because I'm on the boat, it would crash and sink and everyone would die.
Because of you?
Because I'm on it, yes.
Okay, I'm glad you just said it out loud at least, because you know how crazy it sounds.
Bad luck follows me everywhere.
Not in this podcast. Sharon says, okay, June. But I can safely say that this podcast has only gotten better with you on it. Wholeheartedly. Like, 5 times the numbers. So, yeah, I'm going to say that, a lot of that's you. So, there you go.
Okay.
Charity says so true. It has to be right. She also said kill Dakota, but whatever.
Yeah.
We'll take this little comic. Yeah, you're a rock star. She says again, so true. So true. Yeah, she says, don't trust me. I mean, it's what I want, but hey, listen, I'm just here in the corners yelling at Walking Dead for the things to happen. Thank you. Thanks, Becky. Yeah, she says, I just got here, but I agree. This is a great podcast. Charity's like, I'm shouting to the void. Just somebody listen to me. Kill Dakota. Kill Dakota. Oh, hey, on that note, singing, we just... If you don't mind, you should watch Sharondy's Fare Thee Well Colby video on Instagram.
Oh yeah, I was supposed to share that today and I totally forgot.
We will link to that. You did it in the story, so that's good. Head over to the link in our blog, because, it's not usually in the description anyway. All of our extended links are in the blog. So when the blog comes out, you have all the links, all the nice little pictures that we show you during the episode. We'll link to it in the blog. It's a very nice IGTV video of a compilation that both Rachel and I did for Colby's farewell from the show, as she was brilliant, and we just wanted to let her know that she will be missed. And it is incredible. It is awesome, and we all have Sharondy to thank for it, so check that out. Yeah. Sharondy's Instagram is at BLAZYGARDENER on Instagram. Check it out. And, as a little bonus, and this is kind of like a season 1 callback. Maybe his subconscious is trying to recreate the conditions that the army kept everybody sequestered in their neighborhoods. Trying to manage everybody. But also in order to kind of recreate the circumstances that kept Ophelia and, didn't really keep them safe, but in downtown LA, trying to recreate those conditions the army did, so that everybody locked down. We'll figure this out. You said something about, I rolled my eyes when Morgan put the bow axe in the front door because you're going to need in a half hour.
Right.
And so I literally wrote in my notes. June was mentioning how, I'll listen, don't worry, Morgan. I know I broke the rules. Kind of signaling, don't worry, I'll go out the same way I came in. I won't be tricky about it. But it's just, like a badass who'll come in and out the door. And then I said, but maybe it's a signal that we can't be as tough on the rules. Morgan has the one rule, but then I was thinking but everybody's done something. Just because June crossed the line this time doesn't mean that everybody in this whole entire group hasn't crossed the line many times. I said Rachel may be right about the bow except doors. Maybe he should pick it up. It's just you're letting June in, who broke the one rule anyway. So, we're making exceptions for her. So why not everybody else?
Furthermore, it's just hanging out there in front of everything. Anybody could just come take it.
And that's the worst part is that I think Morgan would be stupid enough to say either let him try or good riddance. I don't want to have to be that man anyway.
It's only a matter of time, right? Before the end is the beginning comes and tags the dam. So one of these guys are going to be oh, cool new weapon, gank.
Or maybe it's a warning. I don't know. I have no idea. But again, this place was never supposed to be really free. The end is the beginning. People don't really still know where the place is yet, but now they might because of the explosion, but they're not really supposed to find it. That was the beauty about the place. His shit attitude towards her is going to make it worse. I don't think Morgan's acting shitty.
Towards June?
No, Morgan's the one who asked for June to come.
He wouldn't even look at her.
I think he's having a hard time. I mean, Morgan is a principled guy. I don't know how I'd be in his position. I'd probably be less conflicted. I'd be it's June. June did a thing, but I'm not going to be that stubborn.
I feel like Morgan is treating Dakota better than he's treating June right now.
No, I think he's kind of treating both the same way, in a way. And both of them are kind of get the timeout treatment in some sort of sense. Even when Dakota offers the information that may be the thing that gets him to find the place, and basically the next episode proves that Dakota's info or intel is worthy, because we do see these people.
Right.
Regardless of that fact, that's not the thing at issue here. She's saying Morgan's cold. I don't think Morgan's cold. I think Morgan's just conflicted. He's not a cold person. I think it's hard being Morgan. I think it's hard having to say, hey, this is the one rule. June broke it. Now, I don't know what I'm supposed to be, but I know that the right thing to do is to get Grace the best medical attention possible. Yeah, which is June. And I know that also June is the best person to deal with Daniel in his current state. And at the same time, that's not to say that he's not thinking, I don't know how I feel about this. I know he values June because June is John's lady and John was his best friend. Of course there's no ill feeling. Why would there be ill feelings towards June? I just think he was just conflicted. I think it's hard to be the guy that has to enforce the rules, you know? I mean, it's hard. I think it's more anguish, to be honest. I don't think he's being cold. I don't think he means it.
I mean, when you talk to somebody, it's just polite to make eye contact. At least that's how I was raised. And he wouldn't or couldn't. I don't know. I don't know what the reason, but I just didn't like it. I didn't like it.
I mean, how do you deal with letting down your best friend's wife? Does June know that John wanted to kill himself?
At this point, I gotta say no. Not that he was so far into that.
Doesn't that kind of make sense? A little bit. That plays into his lack of processing, not knowing what to do with Dakota, not knowing what to do about June, feeling guilty about not being there enough for John to prevent his death.
So
that's his best friend.
So not
I'm
being
sure
able
he
to
feels
look
like
at,
he could have done something.
it's more about him
Not knowing what to do.
personally not being able to look at June, not how he looks at her. It
Oh,
has nothing
no.
to do with June, more to do with him.
Yeah, I think when Morgan faces an issue, he blames himself. He turns inward. He doesn't blame outward. Yeah.
I guess I could see that, yeah. I just saw him not making eye contact with June, and it pissed me off.
Oh, Sharondy doesn't agree with me. I think he's forcing himself to live up to the idea that this is Ginny's dying wish to have Dakota behind bars, and Ginny paid the price for Dakota. Still not happy about having Dakota around. So that's one thing. I don't think the jury is out on how Morgan feels completely about Dakota. He's forcing himself to live under his own guidelines about what he wants to do versus what he should do with Dakota. I don't think he wants Dakota there, but this place is meant to be the place for sanctuary for anybody who's willing to live with the rules.
Okay.
So how does he justify kicking Dakota out? It's hard. And so at the same time, June breaks the rule, and yet she's allowed back in. He makes exceptions, grit his teeth, but at the same time, he knows he feels probably responsible for John dying, not in the moment. He stepped away for 1 second, and Dakota kills John. And now he's keeping John's killer behind. How do you think he feels? I would be hella confused. I don't think he was trying to be rude. Like, how do you, it's hard to be happy, like, for Grace and the possibility of her having a kid, and now he has to deal with all of this shit. I'd be under so much stress if I was Morgan. Sharondy says, oh my God, send the little shit to Lawton. But that's what Ginny wanted. Ginny wanted her here. This is the right place for her, according to Ginny. And there's like almost like a dying wish promise. And it's just like, what is he supposed to do? Anybody who seeks sanctuary is willing to live by the rules is welcome here. That's part of the rules. Again, I'm not Morgan. I wouldn't do the same thing at all. My dad taught me a long time ago that being someone who's too principled and not practical, it just doesn't pay. Being principled only means you have to pay more, meaning with your blood, with your sweat, with your sacrifice, and sometimes it's not worth the cost. Sometimes it's enough to take care of yourself, your family, and those around you. And sometimes principles be damned. You can only stick up so much for principle. That's what Morgan's doing right now. He's sticking to his principles, and he doesn't like it. He's not comfortable with it. He's having a hard time with it. She was heavily isolated. Nobody's talking to her. That's one thing to note throughout this episode. Anywhere she went, she made friends with no one. She was always alone.
It might be easy for her to slip out at any point, too, if nobody's watching her too close. Another reason she should be locked up or shackled.
Well, yeah, I mean, she can get shackled at any moment, I think, no? Like, anybody could kill her. But then again, that would break the rule, and I don't know.
Right.
I don't know if anybody's ready to piss off Morgan at this point.
Well, she could just leave. I mean, it's Dakota. You think she couldn't find a way out of there?
God, her mom is probably buried there, too. Ooh.
Oh, do you think they buried her? That's a good question. What did they do with Jenny?
They probably buried her. Or made Dakota bury her. That would suck.
Oh, I wish they would have showed us that.
They might, right? Think about it.
I like
terrible. But also I'd see that. I'd watch. We're armchair murderers, aren't we?
I like Dakota needs to be locked up. So, I mean, we talked about consequences, and she's not facing any. Not right.
You're definitely onto something. Yeah, I would do that. Sure. But I don't know for how long. For the rest of her life? That's a tough one, too. Again, we're dealing with the kid thing, right?
Right.
You lock her up till she's 21. That's a lot of years. I mean, maybe that's the right decision. I don't know. But again, you said also, like, in apocalypse years, what does that equal, right? Negan's 6 year, 7 year, 9 year, however long the fuck sentence is probably like a life sentence. right?
Right.
So,
Felt like a lifetime, I'm sure.
and the fact is, you mentioned it on this podcast too, so which is great, because then we could talk about it at the end and be like, oh yeah, like, you know, maybe 3 years is enough. That's like that 21, or actually maybe I don't know how old she is, like 16. That's probably more than 21. That's probably like 25, 3 years. So Becky's like, she's not that young. I'm like, no, on the show, I think she's very young.
Yeah.
I think she's playing a younger person.
I agree.
Yeah, 15 minimum, which means, you know, in some states it's 21, some states it's 25. You serve a, you know,
But if they're
an
gonna,
adult.
if they are gonna try and keep Dakota around, then she needs to have a skill. She needs to be useful, some way to contribute to this community. That way, when she is let out, if they ever let her out, she has something to focus her energy on instead of trying to escape or taking her anger out on people or whatever her excuses are. Focus your energy on building the community.
No matter how we feel about her, and we all don't like her. I don't like her.
Right.
So maybe I have not made that clear. I don't like Dakota. There are things I can identify with in her. She's a kid. I don't like her, though. I don't like what she did. I see a person who's desperately trying to get somebody like her by some of that intel, at the meeting, but also at the end. Oh, yeah, maybe they're literally underground. And if it pays off and it somehow does something more, okay, that's a little tiny with a whole lot of shit on this side. But there's no doubt in my mind that Dakota is going to get her own episode. Now, whether that means that she's going to get his death episode, right? Because that's an interesting thing. But you know that's going to happen, right? You know that she's going to get her own this thing with the beginning, where Dakota, like, with her head chopped off maybe in the... in the intro. Like, it's just a silhouette of her head off her body. And now you just want to figure out how it happens, right?
I don't know.
Sorry, Sharon. It might happen, and you might have to be like, okay, this is happening now.
I mean, I can't say it's not going to happen because I'm usually wrong. But
Ginny got her
I'd
own
be
one.
surprised.
That was crazy.
I'd be surprised if Dakota did, because at this point, what? No one wants to hear from her. No one cares what else she has to say or what more story she has to give us. Nobody cares. So if they do try and give us a Dakota episode, it might be one of the lowest rated episodes because no one gives a shit about Dakota.
I don't know if that's true, because you know what? The Kardashians are still a thing.
Who? What is that?
You know what the Kardashians are. You know they exist.
Yeah, fuck them.
Okay, I'm not saying I like them. I'm not saying you like them. But everybody
never
loves
watched an episode.
Everybody likes a good car crash. Everybody says, "Oh, that must be sad." Oh, but everybody looks. The fact that they have platform
they exist
is because of other people. Other people supported it, and roundingly so. They exist because the same fascination that we have with car crashes. So we have to see how this all goes down.
This is opening up a whole new can of worms for me, because my mom just told me about something or showed me something last week that I was mad for days. I'm going to get mad again thinking about it. Like, I am so angry that this is a real thing. People are paying millions of dollars to own digital fucking pixelated pictures that people are...
The NFTs?
Yes.
You're talking about.
I'm so mad. I am so angry that this is a real thing.
But to bottle what you're saying is the fact is that you're getting to the, like, even a bigger way than I said with the Kardashians. It is only a thing, and it only has the value that it has because people give it the value. Bitcoin only has the value that it has because people give it the value. Then they take it away, and they put it back, and they take it away, they pull it back.
I look at real artists, okay, like Robin Overton, like Lindy, like Walker Wynn. I know these artists who put their blood, sweat, tears, everything they have into their art, and then people are paying millions, multiple millions of dollars
for pixelated. That's like what, 10 by 10 by maybe? Like
not
10
even.
by 10 thumb?
It's not a thing. You don't get to hold it. It's a digital thing. You don't. It's not even a real you can hold. Oh my god.
But you can only create the one.
But you can take screenshots, and you could own it, I could own it, everyone in the world could own it. But this person who paid $3.7 million says that they own the original. Just the rights and a little thing that says this is the original. That's it.
Oh, and Becky says, I read about those NFTs. They put NFTs of Chadwick Boseman in Oscar goodie bags, and then everyone got pissed because Chadwick didn't win Best Actor for Oscar. Just like you, as an artist, feels this way about other artists. This is a can of worms I have to keep closed because, I mean, I I spent a long time trying to be a singer-songwriter in the New York circuit, and it's hard work. And then I see people around me that are succeeding but are so much worse than I am.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yep, been there.
here's the thing. Here's where that circle. I don't look at other people. I don't look at other people. People want to be foolish and do their thing and waste their life or put value on something that may not even deserve that value, while other people don't. The best thing that we can do as artists is to just take care of ourselves and to just show the world, or the people around us, is probably the most important thing I could say. The people that care about us are devoted to us, care about us. They care how well we do. Some of the people that track some of the NFTs, I mean, that's what you value on the foot on. And those artists, big name artists that get people to follow them and devoted to them, they just want to be devoted to a thing that they can believe in. If that's what they believe in, more power to them. Those people found a way to market themselves at which they can get to that point. We haven't gotten there yet, and that's fine. It's all the work that you put into it. It makes me mad thinking about it. Sure. Here's the worst I get. The worst I get is when we talk about The Voice or America's Got Talent. But shows make me so mad, and irrationally so, because it doesn't make sense. It really doesn't make sense. I can go into the litany of why it does make me mad, and then I can go into the litany of why I shouldn't be mad. And the reason why it shouldn't make me mad is because the people that hear what I have to give believe in me. It's just a matter of getting access to people.
I always said it comes down to luck. Some people have luck and others don't. And as we've established, I don't. I have bad luck. Bad luck follows me.
I think Sharon puts it. First of all, she says, "Okay, June." She says it later, but then it's quality, not quantity. And honestly, if I did that throughout this podcast, I would have given up a long time ago. 100%. Do you think we're at where we need to be as a podcast? No, not comparatively.
I don't know any of those answers, so I'm happy right where we're at. I don't know any different.
I'll give you the answer, and I'll say I don't care. I could do more. Is the thing. I could do more to make it more visible. It's hard work, but I do it because I love it. I do it because Sharon D, maybe not today, loves it.
Usually, normally.
and look at what we're getting. Becky signed on, and Alania, Rebecca Punch, and it doesn't matter to me. And I've said this 3 years ago when we first started this thing. 3 years ago. When 4 months or 5 months in, when we figured nobody's listening to this thing. I said I'd rather 40 people like this post than 4,000, because those 40 people are engaged. I've seen accounts with 12,000 people following it, and you'll get 5 people commenting. Maybe. Mm-hmm. Who won? The percentage-wise, I won way bigger. It gave me such an appreciation for where we're at even back then. I'm not saying we're anywhere near prominence at all, visibility-wise. I've scratched and clawed to make this thing as good as it is right now, and we're seeing that bear out slowly, like Alicia's growth throughout Fear the Walking Dead as a series. That's why I enjoy this. We're in parallel with Alicia right now. That's why I enjoy her journey. That's the only reason why, actually. It's because she's getting more solid. Everything that she's done until now, it's not been this wild transition so much here and there. Yes, time has passed and she became harder and she did some crazy things. She's dialed it back and now she's trying to figure out who she wants to be. For us, it's we're just slowly, inch by inch, growing. We're trying to do this right. We're trying to do this the right way. We're getting people on board. People are coming on because they not because I did follow for follow. I didn't do that shit. I never did that shit. I genuinely engaged with people. If it made them want to stalk us and then say, "Oh yeah, that sounds cool. Yeah, let's do it. As much as I'd like to be in the upper echelons of all podcasts, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, I know I reach some people I care about, like you guys. The fact that you're here right now, that means it's just like when Charlie and Daniel hug before Daniel leaves off with Strand. We're giving you a virtual hug as we sign off. And if you really like what we do, and if you're really offended with this podcast, have to rate this podcast.com/walkingdead. 5 stars. 5-star plan is all we need to know that you still love us, but use it as a communications device. Tell us what you got out of this episode. Tell us what you really hated about this episode. I am begging you to cancel us right now. Take the service of your choice, rate us. It does us a world of good. And also, if you really want to damage us from the inside, rate us 1 star and a poop emoji. But if you really like what we're doing, head over to ko-fi.com/squawkingdead and just follow us. You don't have to do anything else. Just look out for posts and conversations where you want to jump in, join the chat during our recordings, lending insights, telling us to go fuck off like Sharon D did a bunch of times today. It feels good, doesn't it? Doesn't it feel feel good? It doesn't, right? Maybe you shouldn't do it. Buy us a coffee. You'll get 30 days of access to our supporter back content. And if you subscribe to Coffee a Month, at least we're not going to stop you. The party just keeps on rolling. Join us next week for the action-packed Alicia / Althea / Luciana / West / John Glover / Nick Stahl episode, and probably some other people we don't even know, but they're probably great. We're going to see the end is the beginning death cult, which doesn't seem like a death cult from the previews. However,
Right?
this is going to be a pretty big one, and hopefully it'll distract us enough to not talk about Dakota again next week. So,
We'll see.
with that, everybody. Yeah, we'll see. Exactly.
We'll see.
Exactly. It descends into a Dakota conversation. I'm going to cut the whole thing out, unless we think of something pretty cool. Unless we get something. Unless we've squeezed the pus out of that pimple so hard that we freed ourselves from it. AKA Dakota's head. Good night, everybody. We'll see you guys next week. Say goodbye, kitty.
Bye.
Bye. Meow.